Hey everybody, Steve Maxwell here again. I want to talk today about Papa Joe Jones. What a remarkable man. Papa Joe was someone that I got to know, thankfully, in the early 70s. And if you look at this picture right here behind that Ludwig set, he's playing an old 4x14 Black Beauty snare drum that I ended up actually selling at one point. I was honored to have it. Anyhow, Papa Joe, what a fine player. The epitome of style and taste. He was just incredible. He was known as Mr. Hi-Hat for his smoothness on the hi-hat and his ability to just stand up and do a hi-hat solo and just blow the place away. The man was remarkable. And he had such finesse and such style and grace, always with a little smile on his face, a little devilish smile on his face. And he was just a phenomenal musician. In the early 30s, around 33, he started playing with Count Basie, and he was a remarkable force in that Basie rhythm section. Just incredible. Just with Freddie Green on guitar and Walter Page on bass, it was the absolutely incredible rhythm section. Just unbelievable. And some of the things with Papa Joe that are interesting were, of course, the use of his hi-hat, but not only that, the use of his musical approach to the drums was just incredible. He was very light with his touch, but he could drive a big band. He could drive a big band in the out chorus, or the shout chorus as we call it, with brushes. It was just remarkable what he could do. His technique was interesting. Sometimes he would put a floor tom over on the left side by his hi-hat, and he had these little stick crosses that he used to do that were very interesting and very showy. And he always had the ability to play beautifully, and even using everything at his disposal. He would use his fingers. He would play on the drums with his fingers. He would incorporate the entire drum set into his routine and use every part of a drum. The snare drum is an instrument in and of itself, and he would play it with his fingers. He would play it with sticks. He'd play on the rim. He'd play at the edge, in the middle, bringing all sorts of different sounds out of that one drum. A picture here of him along with Krupa and Sonny Greer and many other famous drummers from the Great Day in Harlem poster that is available. That's a beautiful poster with every jazz musician of the day in it. That's a fantastic poster. I've got one framed here at home. And when I think of Papa Joe, I think about the smile on his face, which you can see right here. He always had that look about him. Even as he got older, he still had a little bit of that devilish look going. And I was fortunate enough to be able to meet Papa Joe, and also Papa Joe didn't give lessons, but he had what he called sessions. And when he was at Frank Ippolito's Pro Percussion in the 70s, early 70s, I used to take a bus in from Rhode Island and have a session with Papa Joe. And I've told this story before, but Papa Joe would ask me, he'd say, well, just play for me, son. And I'd play, and I'm young. I'm like 17, 18 years old, and I'm playing every lick I ever learned, from Buddy Rich. And he stops me in the middle, and he makes a motion with his hands and does a big sound like this, which was taking in a big, deep breath. And what he was trying to tell me was, breathe when you play. Don't freeze up. Don't tighten up. Let everything flow. And he would also tell me that if you look at every single piece of that drum set, every piece of that set is a part of that instrument, and the drum set is an instrument in and of itself. Snare drum, bass drum, the toms, the cymbals, everything. That's all an instrument in and of itself. He would tell me, you need to think of the drum set as your dance partner. You wouldn't beat up your dance partner, you dance with it. And he would say, dance with the drums. And he also taught me about picking cymbals. To this day, I still flick the edge of a cymbal before I put a stick on it because I'm feeling the thickness of it. He used to do that, and he used to say, I like to see all the little devils dancing on the edge, which was simply his way of saying he wanted that cymbal to be thin enough to be musical. Again, on this snare drum that you're seeing in this picture, that Black Beauty, that's a drum that I was fortunate enough to have been able to sell, and it was a drum that was his, and it had changed hands several times. It had actually been owned by Billy Cobham at one point, and eventually was owned by a good friend John Riley in New York, great drummer. And I moved it, when John was ready to sell it, I sold it to a collector friend of mine. and it was quite a special piece. So my recollections of Papa Joe were just an incredible person, a quirky personality, but what an incredible, tasteful drummer. My old friend Richard Davis, the bassist, said he worked with Papa Joe in the 60s, and at one point Papa Joe just kept telling him, Saturday night, Saturday night. And Richard didn't know what he meant. But when Saturday night came, Papa Joe let loose and played like he'd never played before. It was incredible. So I would encourage you to go up to YouTube, check out some of the many videos there. Papa Joe Jones, not to be confused with Philly Joe Jones. Papa Joe Jones, check out the videos on YouTube and see what it's all about. You'll enjoy it. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.